Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Wow, a lot of people.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sohila.
Hi, Sohela.
Good to see you all.
See you too.
Tom Lang, when you're ready to get started.
Okay, I'm ready. Are you ready, James?
I am.
All right, so I'd like to call to order the May meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. And I think we can start off with a roll call. James, would you like to do that?
Will do. Tom Lang,
Present.
Tom Owens. I don't see Tom. Okay.
Here.
Oh, there you are, Tom. Good to go. Jim Herman. I think I saw Jim. There you are. All right. Dr. McLean.
I'm present.
All right. Joe Serapicillo.
Present.
Let's go. Mickey Norris.
Present.
George Cleveland.
Here.
Shirley Rosenthal Winston. Okay. And Emily Whelan. I think I saw Emily.
Present.
Good to go. We have a quorum.
Excellent. Should we start off with our treasurer's report?
Can do. It's $3,000.
Thank you, James. So now we'll start with presentations by law enforcement and fire protection. So we can start off with the base station office. Is Lieutenant Buford present?
No, I see Sergeant Root though.
Sergeant Root, would you be okay with giving the report?
Yes, I would. Good evening, everyone. For El Sobrante for the month of April, I have the stats for the month of April. There were 641 calls for service throughout El Sobrante for that time period. Those are everything from, sorry, listen to the radio, everything from thefts to burglaries. There was the one homicide for that month. But actually going through the select crimes, which are considered to be violent crimes, they're actually down by almost 50% in El Sobrante. More than likely, that's due to the activity and increase in patrol. Now that COVID is kind of subsiding, we're allowed to be out making more contacts with the public. So the deputies are out there actively enforcing everything from parking violations to speed violations, and actively looking for the people that are stealing catalytic converters and breaking into cars. For April, I think the only thing we had that was of any significance for El Sobrante was that homicide on Appian, and I can't think of anything else that I can report on for that. And if there's anybody has any questions regarding what's going on in El Sobrante, feel free to ask. I am the swing shift supervisor for base station throughout the week, so I'd be more than willing and happy to answer anybody's questions.
So thank you so much, Sergeant Root. So folks, raise your hand electronically. We'll start off with any questions from members of the council. Any questions for Sergeant Root? Okay, in that case, from the audience, any questions for Sergeant Root's report? Okay, if there aren't going to be any questions, Sergeant, thank you so much for your report and for doing all that you do to protect us. And we're glad that, you know, the patrols have increased and law enforcement's presence is increasing on our streets again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
So James, I don't see Battalion Chief Thomas, so I was wondering if perhaps we could go with the Highway Patrol report, Officers Leviste and Lenway.
Absolutely. Actually, I would like to, I've got to find the email first.
James,
Of course,
can we note that Miss Shirley's now with us?
okay. You saw her?
I see her down there, yeah.
Welcome, Ms.
Just thought
Shirley.
I'd point out that Miss Shirley's now with us, and I'll remind the other members of the MAC, we said that we would put an asterisk in front of our names so that people know who's on the MAC and who's not. So if you're willing to rename yourself and do that, then that's kind of helpful for people. And I will end this moment of personal privilege.
Good catch, Melinda. Thank you.
Okay, so really briefly, George Cleveland asked about the merger between Rodeo Hercules and Confire. So I don't have a chief's report, but I do have a response to that. The feasibility of the merger is still being studied on behalf of the Rodeo Hercules Fire and Confire, both of which are funding the study by an independent subject matter expert consultant. The results of that study are not expected until late May or early June, when they will be shared with the various communities that would be impacted by the contemplated merger by each of the two fire chiefs. So that's where we are on that for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into the CHP's report.
Good evening, everybody. This is Officer Leviste. We also have here Officer Lenway, also with the Highway Patrol. I'm going to start with a complaint we had earlier this month about the speed on Pebble Drive, near White Sands, the intersection of White Sands. I believe there was a request to maybe possibly put a four-way intersection there. That's beyond me. I think that has to go through county roads. But when I did see the complaint, I did request that we send some officers and sit near or on that intersection and see if they find some kind of activity. The officers that did sit at that intersection did not find much. In fact, didn't report anything to me at all, which leads me to believe they didn't see anything. I believe that the complaint came from a Mr. Camp. I was hoping he would be here today. Maybe he could share with us.
Some of his neighbors might be here, though, I think.
Yeah, if anybody could
Yeah,
please.
when we get down to the end, when you get done with your presentation and we get to questions, I think there's some residents here that will have some.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. If anybody can kind of shed some light on maybe a time of day or a particular vehicle or anything like that, that would help us, so we can kind of narrow down our focus instead of just kind of blindly sitting out there and not being as productive as we could be. Also, James, you brought up a couple. You brought up a couple traffic collisions that occurred on San Pablo Dam Road. I was able to find the one on the 20th, April 20th, which happened on San Pablo Dam Road near Tri Lane. I spoke to that officer and he gave me a little rundown, a little cliff notes on what happened in that traffic collision. So what it sounds like happened was we had a Caltrans vehicle traveling eastbound on San Pablo Dam Road. Another pickup truck was traveling westbound on San Pablo Dam Road. A vehicle in front of the pickup truck came to an abrupt stop. The pickup truck had to slam on its brakes to avoid rear-ending that vehicle, and swerved into the opposing lanes of traffic. When that happened, the Caltrans vehicle was coming right at it, and there was a head-on collision. Fortunately, injuries were minor. The driver of the Caltrans vehicle sustained some minor injuries. But the ultimate cause of the collision came down to the driver of the pickup truck just driving too fast and probably falling too close to the vehicle in front of it. That is not an uncommon sort of traffic collision that occurs on San Pablo Dam Road, especially towards that part where it's just two-lane undivided. So again, it's not uncommon. Again, it comes down to speed. And speed on San Pablo Dam Road isn't new. We've been out there and doing our due diligence and doing the enforcement out there. So that's something we're gonna have to continue to work on. Was there a question?
I didn't feel like get my computer set up and on.
Somebody probably needs to put themselves on mute for now.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, there was another supposed traffic collision on the 28th. I looked up our logs and there was nothing glaring. There was a minor rear ender collision near St. John around 9 o'clock in the morning, but it was a simple rear ender. Typically rear end traffic collisions again are speed related. The person in the back is just traveling a little too fast or faster than the conditions allow. So we're just gonna have to stay on top of that the speed there on San Pablo Dam Road. That's all I've got. Does anybody want to make a comment or have any questions? Go ahead.
The council first. So we'll go with the council first, and then we'll get to the audience. I'm sorry that I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, Tom Lane.
No worries. Emily, you had a. We'll start with Emily, then we'll go to Mickey.
Thanks. I'd love to speak to it. I live on Pebble Drive. So yeah, it's a major issue. There's sort of two camps. There's one of people that are speeding usually during commuter hours. If you were to send somebody that's between like 7 and 9 a.m., there's going to be a ton of folks, and it's really going to start to happen between like 4 and 7. And that's a lot of folks that are speeding down. I think it's people that are trying to connect onto 80 from Hilltop down to Appian. But then there's the drag racers. And I heard you, Officer Levy, say maybe like 4 meetings ago talking about drag racing and how difficult it is to chase drag racers and what that is to try to put at bay. But it's happening a lot, and it's happening a lot more. It's happening on Fridays and Saturday nights, but also weeknights. And it's something that I think in a way the street had gotten a little complacent with. And then there were a bunch of issues that happened at the same time. One was that one of our neighbors across the street, when it was raining, a car skidded and went right into their house. Another was that another neighbor who has 2 teenage boys, one of their kids almost got hit. And then we had a new neighbor that moved in that when moving in, their moving truck was there, almost got hit right there. And I think Richard, who's the neighbor that just moved in, I think maybe connected with James or somebody that said, yeah, I used to live on that street and I too almost got hit once. So, I mean, I think it's just because of the decline that it's people, gravity just rocks them. And it says that it's supposed to be 15 miles per hour. You really don't see anybody below 30. And it's often getting up to like 40, 45. So when Richard moved in, and this is a testament, and maybe we can be directed of how to take this to the next step, but just 2 weeks ago, he posted around for neighbors who also had this concern to gather in his backyard, and there were over 20 folks that were in the backyard. So we're collecting signatures right now, and we had reached out to just kind of see what the next step might be. Maybe it's something like a 4-way stop sign that's right there at the court. Maybe it's something like a speed hump. But yeah, if you're looking for hours to catch more action, I would say either at nighttime with the drag racing or during commuter hours.
Okay, so I appreciate the info. That actually will help us narrow down when to send the appropriate resources out that way. I will notate that you did mention that it is happening in the morning time around commute hours. What I'll say is this: we can definitely send officers there when they can. Obviously, with the commute hours, our priority would be the freeways. Because it's commute hours, that's when a lot of our activity happens. But obviously, if there's a lull in the activity, I can definitely get a hold of the day shift unit that works in that area and send them out that direction. As far as the drag races, you're right. The topography of the roadway and the way it descends that hillside lends to faster speeds, especially coming down that roadway. And I totally agree with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my contact information here in the chat. I'm sure Officer Lenway will do the same. If you could forward our information to your neighbors there, so that way you don't have to directly include any of these vehicles. What we're looking for is identifying information for these particular vehicles, especially if you're talking about specific problem individuals. You mentioned some children or young adults that are in the area. Feel free to reach out to us or have your neighbors reach out to us, so that way we have a more specific something to go after, opposed to just sending somebody out there and sitting out there being, so that way we could be a bit more effective in sending our resources out that way.
Yeah, and if it requires, which I totally get, that someone would need to be there to clock and see, oh, wait, look, in fact, people are speeding. I completely understand that during commuter hours, your folks need to be in other places, but also that is when the speeding is happening. And so
Understood.
that just seems like a gap that we just got to figure out how to fix.
No, I
because
agree.
you know, at 1 p.m., it won't really be it, but it is really happening between 4 and 6, I promise.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mickey, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I was driving the other day and I noticed a bunch of yellow bags on the side of the freeways. So I'm hoping that's indicative that Caltrans is starting to pick up trash again there and dumping. Is that true? Is that starting back up?
I would assume so. I can't say for sure. I don't have any information in regards to that, but typically those yellow bags are specifically for either Caltrans workers, or I know that the courts sometimes assign community service in lieu of traffic fines, and they'll send people out there to collect some of the garbage on the roadways.
Okay. Hope it's starting back up. That's it.
Okay, Melinda.
Hey, Officer Leviste. There was, before the pandemic, there was this petition that was over at Lake Ridge Athletic Club to get a stop sign at Tri-Lane because, as you point out, there's lots of accidents there. Do we know what happened with that, or is there some sort of effort going forward to try to put in a light or a stop sign or something there, because people do speed up just as they're heading in and out of, well, either they don't slow down coming in, or going out, they're trying to get to 70 miles an hour as fast as they can because nobody drives 50 down the damn road out of town. Do you know anything about that?
So
I'm not.
let me hop in real quick. So someone did reach out to John recently, Melinda, and it came up in a meeting. I'll have to check with John, but there is likely to not be a stop sign there. Just given the speed through there, some sort of traffic calming. I agree, but I don't think a stop sign's going to go in. I will check with the traffic engineer and find out what happened to the petition. I don't know if I got a copy of it or something. If you know who began collecting the names or something, you can send them my way if they have something written down. But we will check with the traffic engineer on what became of that.
Great, thanks. It's, yeah, traffic calming. It doesn't have to be a stop sign, but the speed right at that intersection is really horrendous. And as you point out, there's been a lot of accidents. It's a pretty common place for there to be a crash, and I think people have even been killed there. I've seen the crosses on the side of the road saying that. I wish I knew who did that petition and what to do about that, but that is a dangerous little spot.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. Are there further questions from council members? If there are no further questions from council members, we can open it to the floor. Any questions from the audience?
Mr. Sirios, he has his hand up.
Oh, okay, please, sir.
And I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, it's Ed Sirios.
Okay, good to go.
Yeah, so I live on San Pablo Dam Road, and I saw the agenda, so I don't know if that's something that we're going to be talking about later in the meeting, but I definitely wanted to address the traffic, especially the speed. We're near the intersection of Milton, and it's just when the 25 mile per hour goes into 40 mile per hour. And so now they're going from 40 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something that we can do. I mean, this is an problem for years, and I'm just wondering if there's actually going to be something done.
Yeah, Mr. Sirios, I'm actually very, very familiar with the location that you're talking about. I tend to sit at that intersection quite often. My findings are that the speed, especially in that section where the speed limit reduces from 40 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour, it doesn't go away regardless of the amount of enforcement that I do. So what I end up doing is I go out there, I kind of flood the area with enforcement, and then the speeds tend to come down. But once I'm there for longer than a week, then everybody knows I'm there, so they slow down. And then I disappear for a week, and then the speeds ramp right back up. So it's just a matter of me going out there, and not just myself, but my cohorts and my constituents. But we go out there and we go to that exact intersection, because that's our problem area, right where San Pablo Dam Road turns from a relatively straight and the speed limit is higher, and then it goes to that like an S curve portion where the speeds have to come down. That's our main focus for San Pablo Dam Road, and that's where we focus our attention. But it's not something that we go out there when we can, and when we do make an effect on the traffic there. But as soon as we're gone, it comes right back. So we just try to keep coming back to that same spot. And it's gotten to the point where I was stopping the exact same people. I'm sure some of the MAC members will remember I stopped the same person like twice within a week, and then a week later I got in a pursuit with that same person. She ended up trying to run and crashed into a light fixture further down Dam Road. But again, that location is notorious for speed, and we're very well aware of it. And we try to send people when we can. But it all comes down to resources, when we can send those resources out that way. But we are aware of that area, and we're trying to take care of it.
But is there anything that we can do that's not just sending, one of the CHP or sheriffs out there? Because there needs to be, like, especially when you're going towards Orinda, you're seeing flashing lights, slow down, stop lights, something to that effect, where, because just trying to get into our residence, our driveway, or coming out, I mean, it's literally like a drag race every time we're trying to,
Oh yeah, and also with that, because like, say for example, you live near that intersection, people who need to make a left across oncoming traffic, they have to stop in the faster lane, and that's one of the causes of a lot of the crashes on Dam Road, namely one of the ones that I spoke about earlier. It's the same scenario, but unfortunately, because of the way that road is engineered and the way it's designed, unless the road were to somehow be re-engineered, I'm sure James can speak to this. They've looked at different ways of re-engineering that roadway, maybe even putting in some portions of Dam Road, they have the two-way turn lane, but the way that roadway is designed, unfortunately, especially with the different sections of the road that have different speed limits, it creates a difficult situation trying to control the speed, because like we mentioned, the speed limit is much higher on one side of the intersection and then much lower on the other side of the intersection. Granted, the roadway itself does change from a relatively straight and wide area to a relatively curvy and narrower area. So just the way the road is situated or engineered is kind of makes it difficult to reduce the speeds unless we did something different with the roadway. But if we did, it would affect the flow of traffic out there, and I'm sure that's also a consideration when the county looks at it.
I'm fine.
Mr. Serious, I hate to cut you off, but there's a couple more of your neighbors that have questions.
Okay.
So I want to try to get to. I apologize, but I want to get to these other folks. Doug, you had your hand up, and then Melinda Wheat, you had your hand up. Those were the two I saw, and then Brooke. There we go.
Yes, I live on the San Pablo Dam Road, the same area that we're talking about here. I've been here for 35 years. Whenever there was a serious accident before, you guys would place an officer, usually in my driveway, with a radar gun. The traffic would calm for at least maybe 3 weeks after that. Okay, you have not been doing that for a long time. I have not seen an officer out here since over a year ago. And I talked to that officer, and he said they were going to be out here regularly, but that has not happened. So I don't believe you're doing due diligence. I'm sorry for getting angry. But when you say that, I'm not seeing it in front of my house with people going over 50 miles an hour in a 25 zone. Okay? Done.
Ms. Wheat? Unmute yourself, please. Oh. Yep, you're muted.
I have pretty much the same issue. I live on San Pablo Dam Road, but I live on a corner near Castro Ranch Road, and the cars come through the light so fast that I can't see them. Sometimes I roll my window down, so I'm listening, I'm looking, and I'll pull out, and people come so fast, they'll honk at me, like, and then swerve out of my lane just to pull out of my driveway. And I know I've asked for, when I first moved here, I had several conversations with, I think with you and with the traffic guy about, well, I think this stretch should be 40 miles an hour, just like it is on the other part of the dam road, because we're just one house after another. And it's just particularly bad at our driveway because we are on the corner. And it seems like if we could get one of those flashing signs in different places on the dam road that tell people their speed, that perhaps they would drive 50 instead of 60 or 65. It's just feels insane to, it's not every single day, but many days I feel like, gee, I could have just been killed. And I don't want to be killed. I like where I live. It's a really special spot on the creek, but trying to drive out of my driveway, it feels, and if anybody comes here, delivery men, we always run out and make sure to tell them, do not try and turn left because you probably will get killed. I just don't understand why we can't have a flashing sign. I know they have them on the dam road, between here and Orinda, not in Orinda, but between here and Orinda. But I don't understand why we can't have them down here in our El Sobrante end. I mean, maybe that would be something at Lake Ridge, because it's the same thing. People are flying through the intersection. Everybody wants to get in front of everybody.
So I'm sorry, I'd just like to briefly interrupt. I want to thank all the folks who live on San Pablo Dam for, contributing their experiences. I mean, it's a really serious issue. I would like to suggest that perhaps we table these discussions until after we have our presentation by Sona Kaur regarding speeding and safety on San Pablo Dam Road, because we do have a number of presentations, including Battalion Chief Thomas, who showed up, and he's patiently waiting to give his report as well. So if it's okay with you, James, I'm wondering if we could perhaps table the discussion of San Pablo Dam Road and move to the fire presentation.
I don't disagree. What I'd like to ask a request is, I know that Officers LaVista and Linway are on the clock right now, or may not be on the clock, with it being the evening. So I know folks were taking the opportunity to talk about this issue while they were on the call. And I hate to ask you guys to put you on the spot. If one of you might be able to come back to the meeting in 10 or 15 minutes when we get a little bit closer to that discussion. The residents really value you all being the ones that do the work. So I hate to put you on the spot. If you can make it, we would like for you to come back, but I agree with Tom that we do need to at least let Chief Thomas make his presentation, and then we do have one more presentation before the San Pablo Dam Road. So want to be
not at all. What I'll do is I'll put my contact email on the chat. So if anybody wants to speak directly to me or to Officer Landway, so that they can forward their concerns about the speed on Dam Road.
Copy that. So when we get finished with the chief, Brooke, I haven't forgotten about you. And then Danielle Deaver, I see your hand up as well. Chief Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being patient and having me back. Sorry I couldn't make the last meeting, but thank you. I have a lot of information to share, but yes, I'm on duty too. And we have a couple of vehicle accidents going on right now. And in response to my fellow officers, you guys know this traffic problem is not just San Pablo Dam Road, it's everywhere. It's just people are driving really, really bad. So anyway, this is the chief's fire report dated April 27th. And just give you a quick update. It's 4 pages, but I'll try and cut it short. COVID-19 update. As the county infection and vaccination numbers continue to improve, we're continuing to emphasize the need for protective measures among our employees. At the same time, we have begun to review a number of interim policies and procedures with an eye towards adjusting and rescinding them in appropriate points along the path to return to normalcy. We've conducted a number of vaccine clinics throughout Contra Costa County, West Side, East Side. I personally participated in, whether I was directing traffic or verifying information or actually giving out the vaccine, but a lot of people came through and we were able to make a big difference there. We just want to give, the chief wants to make sure he gives thanks to all the different participants, from the firefighters to the sheriffs to Brentwood PD, Los Medanos Community College Police, CERT teams, County Medical Reserve Corps, and just a bunch of different agencies. The Fire District Annexation Study update. As you know, we're looking towards bringing aboard East Contra Costa Fire, as well as Rodeo and Hercules. The proposed annexation of the Rodeo Hercules Fire Protection District is currently a subject of study along the proposed annexation of the East Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. The study is due to be completed and presented to the board in June or July at the latest. The Rodeo Hercules Fire Protection District is part of a collective Battalion 7 automatic aid agreement with ConFire and the Pinole Fire Department. As such, the organizations currently conduct emergency operations together and sharing of resources. There would be no negative impacts to the response times in El Sobrante if the Rodeo Hercules Fire Department were annexed into ConFire, since day-to-day emergency operations would look almost identical to the current use of shared resources, with the exception of those resources will now be operating under one agency. And that's directly from the chief. Operations fire weather update. As everyone knows, very little rain, very dry fuels, and the fire season has already started. We've had acres of fires in East County. We've had a couple of fires along the 80 stretchway here. But along with that, our weed abatement department has set up deadlines. Fire prevention has established the weed abatement deadline for East County as of May 16th, based on current fuel moisture content and dry conditions. We started a new program, and I cannot answer any questions on it because it's also new to me, but our Fire Prevention Bureau has started a FireWise USA program, and you can probably find it on our website. It's now available to neighborhoods district-wide. This national program helps neighbors work together with their local fire jurisdiction to protect their communities from wildfire danger. Across our district, numerous communities face heightened wildfire danger due to terrain, vegetation, local evacuation route conditions. FireWise USA is a perfect complement to our many safety initiatives and a powerful tool for better protecting the at-risk communities. It is administered by the Community Risk Reduction Unit of the Fire Prevention Bureau. Crew 12 update. As you know, we put together a crew of young, motivated personnel to help with a lot of this vegetation mitigation and fires and things like that. Our hand crew program began May 1st, and with 2 weeks of training, this year we are fielding 2 complete crews for a total of 24 personnel. After the 2 weeks of training, we will have 7-day-a-week staffing. Crews will be available for spring/summer abatement projects and fire weather suppression support assignments. Con Air program is continuing along the right path. It's going well, and that's the hoisting capabilities of the helicopters and things like that. Training division update. April was a busy month for the training division with multiple courses completed and more planned for future months as we move into fire weather. Here are some highlights. Rapid intervention crew. Training was completed for all companies in March, and I personally participated in a couple of these drills. It's called RIC, Rapid Intervention Company. And what it is when we respond to an incident, say a structure fire, and it's a report of someone trapped in the place. So we go automatically into the rescue mode, which means we're not waiting for any other people to come except what's absolutely necessary. In the midst of going into, and everybody knows about the Michelle Drive, in the midst of going in to rescue someone, one of our personnel goes down at the same time. So now it's gone from a rescue to a firefighter down, 2 different scenarios, but we practiced this until it was familiar with everybody, and the training was very good. Self-contained breathing apparatus, same thing. We practice buddy system breathing and things like that. So it is a lot of training has been going on for the last couple of months, and more training is coming forth as we get into wildland season. And real quick, Antioch drive-by shooting incident update. The case continues to move through the legal system with the accused shooter having entered a not guilty plea on March 16th. It's going to continue to go through the system. We're working with the city manager, but both the AMR personnel who was injured and our firefighter who I saw yesterday are doing well and are expected to return to work soon. Apparatus update, we ordered some more units, especially wildland units, and they'll be arriving soon. And then facilities update. In mid-April, we conducted a groundbreaking ceremony for Fire Station 86 in Bay Point and a ribbon cutting ceremony for Fire Station 70 in San Pablo. Construction has already begun on the Bay Point unit, and if you've gone by to visit Station 70, it's a beautiful, beautiful station. Thank you, San Pablo. Communications update, a new mass notification system called Everbridge implementation continues in an effort to dramatically improve the effectiveness of this critical staff communication tool. What it does is like the community warning system. It puts out a blast to firefighters who are on duty, off duty, that we have an incident going, and it gives out pertinent information. And last but not least, recruitments and retirements update. The district engaged in several recruitment activities this month to fill current and anticipated vacancies. Captain Whit McDonald was promoted to battalion chief effective May 1st and replaced Battalion Chief Jim Hunsey, who retired at the end of March with 33 years of service. Fire Captain Aaliyah Lima also retired in March after 33 years of service. And interviews for firefighter recruits and firefighter paramedics recruits were conducted mid-month for our October Fire Academy. And I believe that's it. Yes. Thank you again. That was a lot of information. And if you have any questions, I'm open for questions at this time.
So thank you, Chief Thomas. Are there any questions for Chief Thomas from the council members? Please raise your hand if you have a question for Chief Thomas. If not, I'll pass it to Sohaila, who has her hand up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Thomas. Thank you for the excellent work. I appreciate it. I would like to ask you for some fire danger signs to be posted on Castro Ranch Road. As you know, we had our red flag warnings, and we have entered the fire season. Chief Brouchard said that the county now has 6 fire danger signs. We would like to have at least one on Castro Ranch Road and one on Center Divider be installed, and at least one installed on San Pablo Dam Road. We would like to have 2 on San Pablo Dam Road on Center Divider if possible, so everyone will be aware of high danger, high fire danger. And also we asked Office of Emergency Services at the county for a community warning system test. She said, Meredith said it would take a year just to test the system. I was really surprised. I was shocked. So in case of a real emergency, can different agencies put their act together and warn the public? I would like to ask you to please initiate it. I would like to ask El Sobrante Council to please follow up on this very important issue. We do need a test of community warning system in El Sobrante, especially in cooperation with the city of Richmond. And finally, I would like to have your email address if possible. If you could write it, I would like to follow up with you on Firewise program. Some of our members in 94803 Emergency Preparedness Alliance tried to do it, and they were told they cannot do it through the city of Richmond, but the county done incorporated area seems like we can do it. So I would like to communicate with you and follow up on that. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I've tried to write as fast as you were speaking. Fire danger signs on Castro Ranch Road, Center Divider. I don't know exactly where that is. And then 2 on San Pablo Dam Road. And then a community warning system. That's the first I've heard that it would take a year to perform a test, but I'll definitely look into that. And then I'll post my email. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Sohila. Thank you, Chief Thomas. Are there any other questions for Chief Thomas from council members or the audience? In that case, if there are no further questions, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you're doing to keep us safe, and great job. Thanks again. And James, are you still here? I notice you're muted. So the next presentation is by Malaika Khan from the Youth Advocate for Healthy Options at Point of Sale. What I'd like to do is, if this is okay with you, Malaika, I'd like to actually move up the presentation by Sona Kaur to the next item, because we have our CHP representatives here. And it might, if Officer Leviste Lenway, if you're available for the next few minutes, you can be party to the discussions. Malaika, is this okay with you? I'm sorry if this is rude.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of Malaika along with 2 other teammates. That's fine to move the other one up.
Okay, so Sona, are you ready to give your presentation?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Sona. I'm a long-term resident here off of San Pablo Dam Road. I don't have a presentation, but about a month ago, in response to many fatalities and accidents on the dam road, we now have a SPDR safety task force, and few of those task force members are here. We are here to continue the dialogue with you about safety on this road and what is being done, and to learn what kind of plans are being discussed. For that, our task force has a spokesperson, Doug Deaver. I will hand it over to Doug. Hi, Doug.
Doug?
Okay. Yes, my name's Doug Deaver. I live on the San Pablo Dam Road in the 25-mile-an-hour zone near where Campbell Lane is, where the Canyon Pole Swim School is. As I said, I've been here for 35 years. I've seen an awful lot of accidents. It's, living on the dam road is scary at best. When I take my garbage cans out, I have people zooming past me at 1 to 2 feet away, coming over the white line at over 50 miles an hour on a regular basis. And if you want times like with Pebble, it's also commonly in the mornings and in the evenings during the commute time. It is always a challenge and very unnerving to try and get in and out of our driveways. Everybody on the dam road knows this one. You're worried that somebody's going to slam into the back of you when you're trying to turn. They're blowing their horns at you and yelling at you because you have to slow down to get in and out of your driveway. And it's gotten to the point of ridiculousness. Like I said, I've done it for many years, and we've always had problems, but the accidents are drastically increasing. The most recent one was yesterday. An SUV plowed in right up the street, right after the 25-mile-an-hour zone. Yesterday morning, an SUV totaled itself out in the back of a garbage truck. How do you do that at 25 miles an hour? Okay. Point being is, whenever I had a major accident in front of the house, which there's been several this year, right here in this stretch, there has always been an officer out here with a radar gun, and then we calm things back down. That I have not seen done for over a year. And when I talked to the officer that was out here over a year ago, he said they were going to do it on a regular basis because they knew things were getting out of control. So now I'm reading in the comments that we need to just start complaining more, and then maybe we'll get some more action back again. But it's gotten, the average speed is 50 miles an hour through here. And I really think the whole dam road should be, even the 25 zone here, downtown it should be 25, but even here, put it at 35 or 30 like it is through Orinda, but enforce it. If you don't enforce it, it's not going to work with the drivers we have out here today. And the county decided it was okay to put radar signs out in the 50-mile-an-hour zone by the reservoir, but they don't consider our neighborhood. We have driveways every 50 to 75 feet along San Pablo Dam Road. There's no reason in the world people should be going 50, 60 miles an hour when people are trying to get in and out of these driveways. It is a neighborhood, and the traffic should be equivalent to that. I'll turn it over to any of the other members at this time.
Okay, any other members of the group who want to add to what Doug and Sona said? Okay, Brooke?
We should, yep, I was gonna say.
Oh, go ahead, James, go ahead.
Yeah. Brooke, then Danielle.
Okay.
Those were the last two from earlier.
Okay. Brooke, you need to unmute yourself. You're still muted. Brooke, you're muted.
There we go.
Okay.
Is it not muted?
We hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, good. I also live on San Pablo Dam Road, and I am right next to where the person was hit and killed last month. The house and church right next to me, it's right in front of a school, and there's now a memorial. And my niece was staying here, and my partner, who owns the home that we live in, both heard the explosion accident. The very first week that I moved in here, which was 4 years ago, I was almost rear-ended, the same exact thing that Doug just talked about, slowing down to pull into my own driveway. Somebody slammed on their brakes, behind me, almost rear-ended me and swerved into the other lane across from me. Unfortunately, nobody was injured. But since I've lived here, I've seen repeatedly over and over and over on Nextdoor, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? This has to stop. This has to stop. And it hasn't. And it blows my mind that this is allowed to happen. And especially places like Orinda right down the street where they're good to go. Everybody's safe and protected down there. And like Doug is saying, for 35 years, this has been an issue. This is residential, so nobody should be allowed to be going 40 miles an hour at the minimum. Nobody should be allowed to be going that fast. What is the purpose of that? Why build homes here, or why set the speed limit that way? This has to be taken seriously. It's crazy to live in a neighborhood, pay as much as we do to live in California, and just say, oh, well, people speed through there and kill each other. Like, I will do anything I can. I'll volunteer, spend my time to do it. I don't know what to do, but something needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you, Brooke. Are there further, I guess it's Danielle?
Yes. So I just wanted to share my experience as well. I have lived on San Pablo Dam Road for probably 25 years of my life, a good 25 years. And I cannot tell you how many countless times I have almost been hit, but because I prepared myself and slowed down enough, people, went around me and whatnot as they're honking and yelling and profanities and flipping me off as I'm just trying to get in and out of my driveway completely legally. And it was insane. I mean, having to deal with that on a regular basis. And I don't live on San Pablo Dam Road anymore, but I drive the entire stretch from San Pablo Avenue to Orinda multiple times a day. And as I'm going the speed limits, I have people honking at me, yelling at me, speeding around me. I had somebody cross over the double yellow line to speed past me because they felt like I wasn't going fast enough when I was going a little over 40, 43 in a 40. And they sped past me. They must have been going at least 80 over the double yellow line, almost hit a car head on. And that is not, that is a regular occurrence down this road. It is not safe. Like, I fear for my life just driving down that road anymore. It's scary.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we have further input from neighbors in the San Pablo Dam Road area who kind of have the same. So I think this is valuable input for our CHP folks, to get the neighbors' experience.
No, yeah, thank you, Mr. Lang. I do want to say that I appreciate that the community's coming together and bringing this up. It's a shared frustration that I share with you and the community. The speed that's on San Pablo Dam Road. As we discussed earlier, it is an ongoing problem. I mean, Mr. Deaver brought up, I believe I'm the one that you spoke to out there. I'm typically the motorcycle officer that works in El Sobrante. I typically work swing shift and I'm usually out there. And I've been out there for 14 years. So I take it personally that because that's my beat. That's the beat that I've worked for so long. But again, it's an ongoing problem. Like you discussed earlier, I'll go out there and I will do my enforcement and it does die down for a little bit, but it always comes back. That's why I'm going to continue to say, please keep continuing to contact me. Writing's best because I can use those emails and I forward that, I send them up the chain and say, look, speed's continuing to be a problem. And that way I can justify the request for resources out that way. once those complaints start to go down, they send the resources elsewhere. And then sometimes I get stuck out working the entire West End all by myself. So the fact that we're bringing this up and we continue to bring this up, I use that as I said in the chat here, as valuable evidence that we need more resources to continue to do the enforcement out there on San Pablo Dam Road. Now, when it comes to making changes to the roadway, I have plenty of ideas, but that's not, I believe that's information that I have to discuss with Mr. Swan. There have been some requests for changes, and I've discussed that with the county roads, and some of them have they've accepted, and some of them they kind of thought it wouldn't quite work. But we are definitely open to suggestions when it comes to changes to the roadway, and then we'll leave it to the powers that be to decide what is the best course of action as far as making changes.
Great. Thank you, Officer Leviste. We have a number of questions.
First was Sona, and then Mr. Sirios.
Okay.
I can just ask my question here. Now that we know that it's an existing problem, I've heard from many of you that it's not a new issue. What are we going to do about it? Like, how long will we tolerate to just continue discussing in this committee? I haven't attended too many meetings here, but to me, just talking about fatalities and allowing them to happen is not okay. It's unethical, it's illegal, and I find it criminal. Sorry, I don't mean to blame or put fingers on anyone. I'm sure everyone has limitations in their role. People are dying on this road. I myself, my daughter, were at 100% risk of getting killed. I am only saved because I watch my speed, I stay focused, and do XYZ to make it pretty much on this road. Second, Officer Leviste, you said that continue letting you know for how long, what has been done from the past complaints, or I shouldn't say complaints, sorry, I hope my neighbors forgive me, they're not complaints, they're real concerns. And would it help if we as a community collect signatures to help you escalate to get more resources? And my next question is, where do we get data? Where's the data on number of fatalities and accidents? And then I want to know if there is any existing task force or advisory committee. I'm sure people have come together before us. What kind of work has been done so we can just continue that, or we can be part of that?
Okay, that's a good point, Sona. Let's keep that in mind as we go through the next questions. And then I'd like to just jump in with a question to James and to Officer Leviste. But we've got a number of folks in line here to ask questions. James, who's next?
Ed Sirios, then Dave Campbell, then George Cleveland.
Okay.
Hello again. Yeah, I just wanted to add again to what everyone else is saying. I agree. This is very serious. I've moved here a couple of years ago, and my girlfriend's lived here. She grew up here on the Dam Road, and nothing has changed. It's gotten to the point where, we want to, have roots here and live here on the Dam Road in El Sobrante. But when we treat the Dam Road as just this freeway going through El Sobrante, we're not going to grow the town. I mean, people are just trying to get from Orinda or somewhere in the East Bay to get to the other side in the fastest manner possible. And it doesn't matter that we have homes on the Dam Road with a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit when it shouldn't even be 40 miles per hour. I mean, I agree with what people have said previously. I mean, these are homes. And like the gentleman said earlier, every time I put the trash cans or take them down, it is literally like I'm at a racetrack. And it's scary to, think, and I also have a 16-year-old son that's going to start to be driving soon. And I'm very scared that I don't even want him to drive in El Sobrante. It's too dangerous here. So I'm just wondering, with CHP, and I appreciate them enforcing the speed limits, but there's got to be something more than just having a CHP officer on random times checking speed limits and enforcing the speed limit. There needs to be, you know, a reduction in speed limit. There needs to be flashing signs. There needs to be more stoplights or whatever it does. But I don't know what else we can do. And again, I'm also willing to volunteer or do what it takes to fix this. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Ed. I guess George is next?
Dave.
Dave, okay. Dave Campbell.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Dave Campbell with Bike East Bay. I'm our advocacy director, and I work on making streets better for walking and biking. And I want to let you know that the County Public Works Department has looked at this road and is still looking at this road to figure out how to deal with all of these problems. And I think the feedback that I'm hearing tonight, that you're giving tonight, is different than their reality. They did a study on this street, and their study was showing that this street needs 4 lanes for traffic. We can't possibly bring it down or take a lane away and slow cars down. And their study also seemed to suggest that it was just fine pulling in and out of driveways as the road is now versus taking out a lane and what that would be like. And so I put into the chat the action alert that Bike East Bay, our nonprofit bike advocacy group, put out. It goes to James Lyons. If you're interested in, sort of adding your voice to others who have weighed in here.
Please do.
We've asked, yeah, James?
Agreed. I'm saying people should definitely comment. I agree, please.
Yeah. So we've asked James to get together with the County Public Works staff, who I meet with regularly on biking and walking issues, to get serious about doing a road diet on this street and bringing the road down to 1 lane, or at least looking at that seriously and basing it on the reality that y'all live every day and not the study that they did, which I think was very flawed. And the study and why I think it was flawed is in this action alert that I just linked to you. I think they need to hear more of what you're sharing here today. And I think a road diet is very doable, at least east of Appian Way, where most of you, it sounds like you live. But they're not taking it seriously. And the reason they're not, and the reason they need to hear more from you, is it would slow cars down too much. It would cause congestion. And that would upset a lot of people. James pointed out if it causes too much congestion, his phone's going to ring off the hook. And so it's good that his phone is in essence ringing off the hooks right now as he's listening to you and the lives you lead and live every day on this street. So you have our support. I'm here to make the street better for walking and biking. I can assure you, if we do that, it's going to be safer for driving as well. So if you don't bike, we can make this street much safer for you as well. We may cause some congestion during the commute hours. We may slow cars down all day long. You can weigh the pros and cons of that. You live this street, it's your street. But if safety is the paramount solution, I'm here to help. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your joining our meeting and commenting. George, you had a question?
Comments.
Okay.
I don't live on Dam Road, but I've lived in El Sobrante for 17 years, and Dam Road has been a problem since I lived here. I used to have a friend who lived in the condo complex on Creekside Court. So I'd go visit my friend, and I'd take Dam Road east, and I would make damn sure to have my left turn signal on at the sign for the Eolus Court complex, which is a good distance away from Creekside Court on the opposite side of the street. That's my marker, turn on my signal. And I was always concerned that with oncoming traffic, westbound, coming into San Pablo, I had to sit and wait there. I was thinking to myself, is this the day that I'm going to get rear-ended by some expletive deleted who doesn't know how to drive? Fortunately, that never happened. But it's a problem. It's a speedway, especially as you get towards Green Ridge and out towards Tri-Lane. I saw people say put a stop sign at Tri-Lane. The problem with that is that's right where the 2 lanes merge back down to 1. And I can see that in an attempt to prevent accidents, you'd cause more accidents because people would be jockeying for position to get from the 2 lanes to 1. and they wouldn't necessarily be paying attention to the stop sign, and you'd have more problems. I think that, we're talking to this meeting in this forum, and we're voicing our concerns to the boots on the ground CHP officers, and we're talking to Supervisor Joya's chief of staff. I'll call James that. I know that's not his proper title, but I'm blanking on what it is at the moment. But this needs to be escalated. It needs to go. It's like, we need to be talking not just with Supervisor Joya, but we need to be talking with our other elected representatives. We need to be talking with our state assembly person. We need to be talking with our state Senate, the person who represents us in that body. We need to be talking with the powers that be and the upper levels of our state government that deal with CHP. We also, if you saw in the chat, Chief Thomas, the fire chief, put some information in there on what could be done. But at the same time, I'm hearing the people talking about the people speeding and nearly clipping them, as all they're trying to do is take out their trash to get picked up. Everybody who lives on Dam Road is experiencing these things. I'm guessing you're recording these. I hope you are, because video evidence helps as well. Because we know how fast people go on that stretch, but documentation from everybody. You've got your security cameras. If you don't, maybe you should get one, or you should just have something that can, use your cell phones as you're going out to put out the trash and just observe the traffic. If people get pissed off about that, that's too bad. You're in public space and you have the right. It's not a problem. It's like you're on public. So don't expect it. You shouldn't expect that level of privacy if you're driving in your car, especially if you're driving at twice the speed limit. You have no business complaining about it because you're lucky you don't get caught. But even as it's a long-standing problem, and what Mr. Deaver said earlier, yes, it'll calm down. But as soon as the CHP goes away and people know that the CHP is not going to be there and they're not going to be there every day, then the problem gets and starts and goes back up again. So there are issues there, but I think, if the people on the damn road start recording things and submit them to see, look at how fast these people are driving. That is the thing that you want to do. And then you have the evidence to back it up, because otherwise, there isn't an end in sight. And that's unfortunate. I think the main thing that might drop the traffic is, to point out the flaws in that study that Mr. Campbell mentioned and said, look, the whole road needs to be 2 lanes, 1 lane each direction, period. People say there's too much traffic. Well, that's too bad. That's the price you pay. That's the trade-off. You're gonna have more traffic, but you're gonna have more safer traffic, and you won't have fatalities and other accidents and other craziness that happens on that road. I've said enough.
Okay, thank you so much, George. So I think we've gotten a lot of really good input in terms of personal experience, people who live on the dam road. I certainly feel whenever I go out on the dam road and I try to make a right or left into one of the homes or one of the side streets, I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands sometimes. So I can totally agree with that. So it seems to me that we need to have a way of kind of getting all of these experiences together, as well as compiling the suggestions that have been made and turning that into an ask for an investment. And once we have a concrete ask for an investment with, a list of items that we want, then that's something that we can present as a request to county government, to state government. We have something that's, concrete that we can present, and people can say yes or no, or they can iterate on it, or at least we can start a process based on kind of a coherent vision. So in the MACs, we have sort of a structure to take care of these things, and they're called subcommittees. And so, James, I don't know that we have a formal subcommittee on traffic. We do have one on illegal dumping, and we have Mickey Norris here in the council who's done a great job of leading that. And this subcommittee is actually getting concrete things done. So I'm wondering if we could maybe start something like that, another subcommittee for the MAC that would be an umbrella for the neighbors, and at least get a concrete request in. James, you have any thoughts?
I do. you all have said quite a bit. So let me take a moment to address many of the things that have been said. Dave Campbell is correct. Between last month's meeting and tonight's meeting, Supervisor Joy met with Public Works. I will be speaking. Dave knows Alexander will be setting up that town hall meeting. Supervisor Joy wanted to get more input on the study that was done. So Alexander and I will be meeting with that, and then we will be sending out potential dates, stakeholders, and folks to spread the word for when we're going to secure the meeting. Sona, you asked about traffic counts. Email me that request. That way I will contact the traffic engineer to find out when the most recent traffic count was taken for San Pablo Dam Road. That should include speed, number of vehicles, that information. Tom, ask your question again, Lane.
So the question is, perhaps this would be a good.
Oh, yes, we can, excuse me. Yes, we can start a subcommittee. Yep, there isn't one on safety or speeding is like that, but we can create one, a subcommittee on safety, something like that.
And I think the goal of a subcommittee on safety would be to take this from sort of a diffuse set of inputs from neighbors on their experiences and a diffuse set of suggestions into something that's really concrete. And maybe it's something that could have a price tag on it. So it would give the powers that be, something to work with to say yes or no, or how about something else. And, the subcommittees involve MAC members, but importantly, neighbors and community members are welcome to join. So the meetings, and James, perhaps you and I can start on that.
Yep, we will definitely start on that. And I want to let everyone, the biggest thing take away from me tonight, Supervisor Joy and I will be talking about all of this input. Thank you all for coming. Dave mentioned that about my phone ringing off the hook. I don't mind. That's exactly why I'm here. So please continue to do two things. One is when you witness something going on, please call 911. Officers Leviste and Linway have given their email address. Do let them know. They've mentioned that it is important to let them know so that they can keep and track records of it. So please do those things that they have requested. But tomorrow morning, Supervisor Joy and I will be talking about how we need to get in contact with Public Works. You all have made it very, very clear what your concerns are. You are heard. The meeting is recorded. So we do have the video that George mentioned of everyone in there expressing their concerns. This is not lost on me. I have lived in this area my entire life as well. Supervisor Joy and I will be talking in the morning about this. We will be getting that information out to everyone about the town hall, looking at the bike study, the road diet, and we will move from there. But I want to let everyone know that you are definitely heard this evening. And that is definitely not lost on me. Melinda, I see your hand up.
So I have no business volunteering to do this, but it may be time for us to have a public safety subcommittee, and it's not just the Dam Road and Valley View and Pebble, but it's also the issues that we have around fire protection, and we've got a bunch of public safety issues. And my experience trying to do our project, which I'm happy to say we got a building permit finally on April 9th after nearly 2 years. We've come to know people at Public Works. We have some other ways to go about this. And I'm just now seeing AB 43, and I am just delighted to see this piece of legislation, because the problem is that whenever they order a traffic study, we don't get the results we want. We get told it should go faster. And so that leaves Officer Leviste with no choices and us in a horrible position. So I'm just going to say that I would be more than willing to chair a subcommittee on this and to really start pushing for AB 43, which Buffy Wicks seems to be a co-sponsor of. So our assembly members are already on board. We need some law changes, some policy changes. Otherwise, Officer Labiste doesn't really, he's just lost. I mean, he can only do what he can do. And Public Works can't even really help us until we change this law. So I'm going to invite everybody to see that link I put in there for AB 43. Let's get that thing passed. Let's get some things happening. Let's get this done.
All right. Thank
And
you so
I'm
much.
on board. I will take a point.
All right. Thank you so much, Melinda. And I think that perhaps we can start a conversation within the MAC about forming such a subcommittee and sort of figuring out how it should work so that our efforts are going in the right direction and are as efficient as possible. So we've got a lot of things to work on, and this particular road issue is, it's come out, it's very important, as well as fire and other issues. So we've got to figure out how to do it, but I think that this has really helped us prioritize, concerns about traffic and speeding and things. It's really a vital matter of safety. So thank you everybody for this input. I mean, this is exactly why we have these meetings. This is an advisory council to Supervisor Joya's office, and it's exactly there to convey the sentiment from the community. And so, you're really helping as citizens by doing this.
Thank you, Tom. That is correct.
So I think, I want to thank, we can go into our next presentation. So I just want to thank Ingrid for her patience and allowing some of these other presentations to go first. So Ingrid is going to discuss the healthy options at point of sale group.
Sure thing. Thank you so much. My name is Ingrid de Santiago. I am the program coordinator for Healthy Options at Point of Sale. And I have two of the youth advocates here, Karan and Malaika, who will be the ones presenting. We are a group, I know y'all usually don't have young folks here, but we're a group of high school age advocates who are learning to engage in local politics. And so I will have the advocates present, and particularly they look at nutrition and food access. And while we are based in Richmond, there is so much overlap when looking at nutrition in El Sobrante and San Pablo and Richmond, as I'm sure y'all are aware. So if I could share my screen, we have a PowerPoint.
Go ahead.
And I will let Karan and Malaika take it away.
Okay, thank you. So we are part of Richmond Hops, which is an internship led by high school students, which stands for Healthy Options at Point of Sale. And our goal is to reduce the intake and marketing of junk food in the Richmond community by replacing unhealthy items with healthier alternatives in checkout aisles. My name is Karan Chahan. I'm a senior and I go to De Anza High School and I live in El Sobrante.
My name is Angelica and I'm a junior at De Anza High School and I live in Richmond.
So HOP started in the fall of 2019. This is our current team, although much of the amazing work has also been done by past advocates. So what is Healthy Checkout? Well, Healthy Checkout is a campaign to pass an ordinance in the city of Richmond requiring minimum nutrition standards for snacks and beverages sold at the checkout area in stores. So these could be fruit, nuts, water, whole grains, 100% juice, and more. And Healthy Checkout would be beneficial because a lot of the times when parents are going shopping for groceries, they don't feel like they should bring their children along because the child wants to purchase junk food at checkout, making the whole process a lot more difficult for the parent. Also, people impulsively buy junk food, and if it's in the same spot every time they go there, it's much easier for them to just grab it impulsively. So why focus on checkout? Well, the first point is that the majority of at-home food purchases come from grocery stores. And by this, what we mean is most people buy their food from grocery stores versus restaurants, drugstores, etc. So that's where we want to focus on creating change that will go the furthest. And the second point is that product placement is a powerful retail marketing technique. So in 2018, beverage companies spent over $1 billion to advertise sugary drinks versus $573 million for diet and unsweetened drinks combined. And they usually target advertising at youth of color. So for example, Black teens see more than double the amount of sugary drink ads than their white counterparts do on TV. And 84% of all money spent on commercials in Spanish are for soda, sugary sport drinks, and energy drinks. And our third point is that checkout prompts impulse buys. And by this, we mean that it's encouraging impulse purchases, which we know from prior research, as well as on our own research based through Richmond. And last but not least, the fourth point is that healthy checkout is good for both customers and businesses. Healthy checkout is good for customer shopping habits, and it is also good for the stores, so it's a win-win. Why do we need healthier checkout aisles? Well, for starters, a lack of local grocery stores that have fresh, healthy, and convenient foods and drinks. So there could be better, healthier alternatives. And there's also a growing amount of health issues in the community. And by health issues, we mean heart disease, diabetes, cavities, obesity, and cancer. And the more we try and include healthy food and beverage options into our diet, the healthier the children and adults in our community will be. So our Richmond community assessment, the HOPS team spent 1.5 years collecting data through research in the community. We assessed 33 food stores, and there are approximately 33 stores in the area of Richmond that have stores such as pharmacies, corner stores, and grocery stores, which all provide foods and drinks. And many of these stores, they have candies and gums at checkouts or many other junk food. And we also have 5 focus groups, and most of the participants in the focus groups were residents of Richmond, and they were all asked about what influences them to purchase junk food at checkout, and would junk food being moved to an assigned area change the impulses buying. And we also had 8 key interviews with local health providers, educators, food service professionals, etc. And we had 3 retail interviews with where local grocery and convenience store owners were interviewed and asked about their thoughts on what influences them to buy junk food and what influences them to put what they do out on checkout. And we asked about their thoughts on current healthy food options available in Richmond and how they make the choices of what foods they do put out at checkouts. So next, we're going to be going over the store checkout assessment highlights. After assessing the local stores in Richmond, we collected data that provides us knowledge on what is nutritional and what isn't, such as the overall percentages of unhealthy beverages in these local grocery stores and how much higher the percentage is than the healthier options. So in overall, 60% of beverages at checkout are unhealthy compared to only 17% that are healthy and 16% categorized as other. And these are not very nutritional, but have low to no added sugar and are mostly coffee and alcohol.
Similarly, 65% of the food sold is unhealthy, while only 6% of the food sold there is present healthy, and 28% are in between like gum, trail mix, bread, and fresh or hot prepared foods. Candy makes up 40% of all food sold at checkout and 25% of products at checkout, including beverages and non-food merchandise. And non-food merchandises are like home goods, beauty products, electronics, bath, and makeup does make up 28% of products at checkout. This slide is about the focus group and key interview findings. So the participants in this virtual focus groups were all residents of Richmond, and they were all asked about what influences them to purchase junk food at checkout aisles, and would junk food being moved to an assigned spot change their impulse buying. Key informant interviews were both with local health professionals and other residents in the community, serving roles just as teachers, and there was rising issue of diabetes, tooth decay, heart disease in residents, and particularly youth. Food industry spends bulk of advertising money targeting youth of color. People went as far as Berkeley and often El Cerrito to shop, partially because of lack of healthy food available in our community, which means that money is leaving our local economy. After a long day, people were stressed, waiting in line, and bought impulsively from seeing the convenient snacks. There were several mentions of wanting to see healthy produce and healthy snacks stocked from local farms and local companies. Retailers. Some retailers already do sell healthy snacks and produce at checkout. They generally expressed that they would stock healthy items if people bought them, but didn't think people wanted to make healthier choices. Overall, the retailers felt that their responsibility was to provide the products the consumers will buy, and the burden of making a healthier decision was not on them. This is a good opportunity for us to go back and do the retailer education to share what our research found, especially that most residents believe that grocers have a valuable role to play in the health of our community. Another group also did a survey of 562 voters in Richmond that found more than 3 in 4 voters indicated they support this policy. Similarly to us, they found that people were concerned about the health of the children the most. Respondents strongly agree that grocery stores play a role in keeping our communities healthy. So what impact will Healthy Checkout have? Healthy Checkout will give local residents in Richmond healthier options to choose and to have access to healthy food options that they currently don't have access to. It will make it possible for people to buy healthy snacks and treats even when they are on the go or shopping with children. So these are photo voices. We had a project where we took images that demonstrate our experiences with food access in Richmond, and Karan will present hers.
Okay, so this was my photo voice, and what is seen here is many fruits and vegetables on display outside of the store for people to see and come and buy. But what is really happening is that some of the fruits and veggies are going bad or getting old because no one is purchasing them. This relates to our lives because we pick and choose what to eat, which influences what we buy. And most of us tend to go for the more unhealthier option because it's cheaper and it tastes better, leaving the healthier options to get old. And things are this way because many fruits and veggies are too expensive for some people to buy. And since many people won't buy them, they go old just sitting there. This could educate people by showing them how something needs to be done about the prices of fruits and veggies so that more people are able to have them and so that not as many will go bad. What we can do as a community is try to lower prices for healthier options or start using the healthier options over the unhealthy ones.
And this is my photo voice. So in this image, you can see that there's a checkout aisle where there's so many unhealthy items being sold. There's candy, Nutella sticks, all these items with so much sugar. But what is really happening in this picture? The market is using a marketing technique to their advantage. They place items in the checkout aisles, usually something that has a lot of sugar, so people could buy it, no matter what they actually went in the store to buy. Which is a pretty good marketing technique, but it's really bad for our community, the health of our community. Eating these foods can cause a lot of diseases, linking to cholesterol, leading to heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. Things like this are only for the benefit of the store, and it's just for the money. So we need to get rid of unhealthy choices and make sure there are healthier options at the checkout aisle so people eat healthy and have a better immune system in times like this where we're struck by COVID. So what can you do to get involved? You can sign our petition and to bring a healthy checkout for the Richmond City Council. Submit a letter of support on behalf of our workplace, community organization, or other group of people. Connect us with others to share this campaign and talk to friends, family, and neighbors about us. Thank you for your time.
Does
So
anyone have questions for the advocates?
That was an excellent presentation. I think we all really learned a lot from it. And I just ask that before we go to questions,
Stop the screen
that you
share.
put whatever URLs are involved in the chat so that, you know, people can go and sign the petition directly from here. I know I want to, and I don't even live
Yes.
in.
I just put the link for the petition in the chat, and we also have a link for the petition in Spanish, so I'll add that one as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
There are 3 questions. There are 3 hands up.
Go ahead and choose the question. I didn't see who came first, James. So
Jean, Tom, and then George.
Thanks, James. First of all, to the students, this is a fabulous presentation, and I'm so impressed that students are thinking about what they put in their bodies at this age. Makes such a difference. And your photo voices are terrific. Something that occurred to me, so I can see where you might have some trouble with the retailers because their only interest is money. And they all have corporate parents, which might be harder to sway. But you know who might be willing to help you? And I don't know if you've spoken to them. Kaiser in Richmond had for quite a while, they had what they called a healthy choices option in their cafeteria. And they might be willing to lend you some support from either staff of theirs. They might be able to give you ideas. And after you sat with them for a while, you could ask them for a grant. This is just the kind of thing they like to do. So congratulations, everybody. You did a great job. I'll certainly sign your petition.
thank you so much.
And then Tom.
Yes, I wanted to second that. This was a superb presentation. A lot of hard work went into it. I just wanted to suggest that I believe about a year ago, Berkeley City Council passed a city law that got rid of the junk food at the counters. And I was wondering if you guys had given any thought to doing a follow-up with them to see how that's going. That was my comment.
okay, I guess George and then Mickey.
Okay, to the students, that was a superb presentation. Following up on what Tom just said, if I recall correctly, I think Richmond tried to pass an ordinance a couple of years ago about sugary drinks and sodas, and I don't believe it passed. But maybe it's time that it should be revisited. The thing about Richmond, interesting, you know, we live in El Sobrante, but you know, I have ties to Richmond. My family has lived and owned a house in North and East since the late 80s. Is that Richmond doesn't have what I will call traditional grocery stores. I mean, you have Walmart and Target, but they happen to be like retailers who just happen to have groceries in there. And the other thing is Foods Co. That to me is kind of, it's like Food Max. It's kind of cut right. They used to. I mean, back in the day, there was a Safeway and a Lucky across the street from each other at the intersection of McDonald and Barrett Avenues. There was a Lucky up at Hilltop, and there was a Lucky over on Valley View. So there was a lot more of grocery stuff in the city of Richmond. So it's unfortunate that the city, if they want to get something true like that, like a Lucky or a Safeway, they have to go to Pinot, or they have to go to Braley's in San Pablo, or even the Food Max in San Pablo if they want something, because there isn't any really great grocery stores in Richmond. I mean, there's the grocery outlet, but again, same thing. So that's the other part of the problem with Richmond is they don't have what I'll call, like I said, a traditional grocery. I don't know how you'd get something in like that, but I do think that maybe you might want to approach the city council leaders in Richmond to see what they can do about resurrecting, try to get that ordinance on the ballot to cut back on the sugary drinks and things like that, because it is a problem. Because you are absolutely right about the health issues. When you don't eat healthy and you're not given healthy options, your health suffers. And everything that you said on there is absolutely true. But you could make that list even longer if you want to do it. Here's what happens when you don't eat healthy. Here's what can happen to you with your diabetes. You could even go into the thing about the complications of diabetes, where all sorts of bad things can happen. But I think your report is excellent. I'm very glad that you came here and, as you said earlier, injected a bit of youth into our proceedings today, because you're right, you don't necessarily see too many young people at these meetings, and I'm glad you're here. So thank you for coming.
Mickey? Thank you, George. Mickey, please unmute yourself.
I was also so impressed with this presentation, and I want to say that HOPS gives me hope for the future, that we have so many concerned young people taking action, trying to make a difference. I'd like to know, is there a curriculum that's taught in the schools in De Anza High School? Are students taught about making healthy choices and things like that in a health curriculum? But also I wanted to suggest, as somebody who's concerned, like I have the illegal dumping and littering subcommittee, and I want to say that what I find on the streets is mostly junk food wrappers. And so those choices at the checkout stand are also impacting how much litter we're finding on the streets. And it seems like either there should be some kind of sign that, to remind people to discard of their litter, or maybe somehow or another you could connect the two issues, or maybe charge a surcharge for all the, on the junk food, to help us address the litter problem as well, or collecting like these, or recycling of the bottles, that's what we find. We find wrappers from candy wrappers, mostly fast food and fast food restaurants. The fast food restaurants, and the sodas and things like that, the bottles like that. So it seems like they're a connected kind of issue in a way. And I'm hoping that maybe you guys can help us figure out a way of addressing these unhealthy choices with mitigating some of the littering around those choices as well. So thanks.
Are there any other comments or questions?
But I also wanted to know if they are being taught that in school. And do you have a program as part of the curriculum as well?
I'm in the law academy, so like for the whole school who are not in health, like we don't have anything like that. But I don't know if they have something specifically for the health academy, but for like other people in general, we don't.
Thank you. George, I saw your hand pop back up.
Maybe that can be introduced somehow.
I did, yes, I did want to put it back up because I forgot to mention one thing about the product placement. It's always been at the checkouts. It's been there forever. I remember when I was a kid, 50 years ago, little kid, seeing stuff like that. Yes, I'm old enough to remember stuff from 50 years ago. And it's just the idea, part of it that it's so successful is because it's inexpensive and it's mass produced. And the thing about getting people to eat healthy, it's good, but when you're talking about organic foods, the irony of it is that it's naturally grown, but it costs more. So when you're looking at the organic things at a supermarket, you're spending more money. And Richmond, as we know, has some pockets where people don't have a lot of money. So you have to really stretch your dollar for some folks. Unfortunately, it's like, okay, what choices am I going to make for my food? And and I still have to have money for other things such as rent, utilities, gas money, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very challenging. So that's another issue of why you might see more of it in some spots, because it all depends partly on the income level. Can you afford to eat things organically? Do you have the ability? Do you have the time and effort to be able to cook? So that's part of it too. But again, I just want to say thanks again to the students. I'm actually clicked on the link that Ingrid put in the chat, and I've already registered. I want to get involved. So you've already converted at least one person to your cause just in this meeting, and you know, I think it's great. So please keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for letting us present.
Thank you for coming. Angelica, if you or Ingrid, or I do not want to miss Kiran, if any of you have final comments or anything you want to say before we move to the next part of our agenda, now's the time for that. If not, we'll move along.
Again, thank you both, the three of you, so much. This has really added a lot to our meeting, and we're really excited that your project is going on. This is really great work. Thank you. So the next item we go to is development plan applications, variance reports, building modification requests, etc., from the Contra Costa County Conservation and Development Department, and notices of public hearings. And there's one item, it's CDVR 21-01012. And so this is at 5935 Alpine Road, San Pablo. James, did you want to interject something?
I actually did. I just want to, we can actually do it after this, but I wanted to read a little bit about our give a COVID-19 update. We can go ahead and do this though.
Okay, well, so basically they're just requesting a variance to allow a reduced 1 foot setback, which is less than the minimum required. And they want to put a retaining wall and fence on their yard, which is considered a substandard lot. And I walk around that area, and I think I know that address fairly well, and I have no comments on the plans.
I had a question, if I may. Why is it before us? It's not even in El Sobrante.
Well, this is I asked that same question when it came up on email a few weeks ago, and apparently this is in the purview of our MAC.
Huh?
So,
even though it's in San Pablo. Okay.
So it's an unincorporated East Richmond Heights, the North Arlington area, and currently the El Sobrante MAC's boundaries stretch that far. This summer, after the planning department finishes with Envision Contra Costa 2040, they're going to submit a resolution to have that North Arlington area that's in the El Sobrante MAC boundaries switched over to the East Richmond Heights MAC.
That makes sense. I never knew that was even part of our area. Huh? Even for my first go round on the MAC, I didn't know that.
It's been that way the whole time.
Wow, learned something new today. Thank you, James.
So I had no comments about it, other than I thought it seemed like an appropriate request, and it might help with the stability of the hill and improve the look and feel of the neighborhood. I don't know, our resident construction expert is Joe Sarapochillo. I don't know if he had any comments on this. Joe, are you there? Okay. So unless anybody weighs in on it, I would say no comments from the MAC on this item. Is that all right, James?
That's good to go. And I think you have the planner's email address. Do you have the planner, Sarah? Do you have her email address to send her?
Just shoot it to me by email.
Will do.
And I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
So did you want to give your COVID presentation, James?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right, everyone. So reading from our talking points, the FDA authorizes the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 12 through 15. The county's health services department sent out a press release this evening. We will have an e-blast going out tomorrow morning covering this topic. If you do not receive our office's e-blast, email me your email address and we can get you signed up we've been putting out a ton of really, well, we always put out relevant and really good information, but specific to vaccines, the county's response to all that. Supervisor Joy has really been on top of making sure that we put out good, pertinent, timely information. So if you're not receiving our e-blast, you can do so by reaching out to me.
So James, any thought of how close we are to going to the yellow tier?
No, I will say this, at the state level, they're discussing the mask mandate going away by June 15th. But in terms of us moving to the yellow tier, I don't really have a sense of that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Today, just a couple more things. Today, President Biden announced that people can get free rides to COVID-19 vaccine sites through Uber and Lyft. If you'd like to see that announcement, I'm going to drop a link to that into the chat. Hopefully that video doesn't start playing right now. Okay. Contra Costa Health Services is partnering with Kaiser Permanente and local school districts to host vaccination sites starting later this month and in the coming months. The vaccination sites will be open to school staff, families, and community members. We'll also begin vaccinating people ages 12 through 15 at health services vaccination sites once the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and the Western States Scientific Study Work Group grant approval for this age group. A plug here, if you have not received a dose of the vaccine, the Veterans Hall on 23rd Street, 968 23rd Street in Richmond, you can walk up and get a vaccine there. No appointment, just walk up and let's see. Now that is all. Are there questions for me?
Yeah.
About the county thing about COVID from the council? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment. And looking at our vax numbers for the county, we are doing a heck of a lot better than the state as a whole. So in our county, the last I looked, which I think was today actually, 72% of our county has had at least one dose. And I think close to 60% are fully vaccinated. So that is incredible. And I think, you know, we may be seeing the benefits from that sometime later in the month or maybe a little into the summer. So we're very, very well, you know, we've done a great job with vaccinating here in the county. And El Sobrante has the best vaccination record in the county by far. So go El Sobrante.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I don't see, I'm gonna go to gallery. I don't see anyone waving or anything like that. I will be quiet and we can move on with the rest of the agenda.
Okay, so the next part of the agenda is public comment. So people can comment on anything that occurs to them. Just be mindful that you have 2 minutes. So James, you probably see who has their hands up better than
it was pretty close there, but I think Darcy edged out Harry by just a second there. Please go unmute yourself and please go ahead, Darcy, with your public comment.
Nice to see everybody after such a long time. I'm here to talk about an event that Braver Angels is going to have on Saturday, June 5th. It's going to be a forum on homelessness in El Sobrante. And for most people know Braver Angels by now, although it's been a long time since I've talked to you about them. But it's a national organization that designs workshops and forums to help people from diverse political points of view reach common ground. And so we were hoping to get people with diverse perspectives on homelessness to come together and agree on potential solutions. And so that whatever the solutions are, we get broad support from the community. And so it's going to be Saturday, June 6th. And I can put the link into the chat and you can read about it. You can ask questions. I'll put my email there too. But we're hoping that whatever we come up with, we'll be able to have some sort of meeting or town hall with John Joya and talk to him about the solutions. And we think that with the money coming from the state towards homelessness, that maybe this is a timely thing. And the wildfire season coming and the homeless back on the hillside and all along the Wildcat Canyon. So that's it.
Thank you, Darcy, and thank you for your email earlier.
Oh, glad you received it.
Okay, I guess Harry had his hand up.
I'd like to announce that there will be a public hearing on Zoom on the future rate increases of the West County Wastewater District. Public testimony is encouraged. We are referring to them as environmental quality charges to more aptly describe our rates. For further details, please go to our website, www.wcw.org/rates-fees. And I'll put that in the chat. The Zoom address for the meeting is listed there. While public focus should be on rates, there is another part of the district enterprise that is seldom mentioned. What we, each of us, collectively own. The ratepayers collectively own over $150 million of land, offices, cement structures, pumps, motors, vehicles, and pipes, paid for over time by district flushers. This year, the district will have been in existence 100 years, and the rates we pay have kept it going, improved our lives, allowed our community to grow and continue to exist. Without the sewers and the sewer plant we own, smelling the roses would not be possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Weiner. Melinda?
I just wanted to tell everybody that we finally got our building permit on April 9th. With nearly $100,000 worth of fees we paid to the county, $27,000 of which was to Harry's agency, I might add. I feel like I've done my part. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to be really beginning construction very soon. Our contractor is busy on other things. But if everybody would like to come out, May 29th is our next work day, 12 to 3. And if you can stop by and get a tour and see the demolition that we've done and so many things that we've done, we would be delighted to see some of you come by, especially now that more of us are vaccinated and, wear your mask anyway, but we would love to give you a tour. So May 29th, 12 to 3, 5166 Sobrante Avenue. Come on out. Be great to see you there.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. Are there other comments, public comment?
None that I'm seeing.
Okay, in that case, we can move on. Any information items or subcommittee reports?
I think we had oh, go ahead, Mickey.
So we had a wonderful subcommittee meeting on April 28th, where we had the environmental health specialist for Contra Costa County, Jose Avila, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but he was just wonderful. He's also in charge with code enforcement, and that's why we invited him, because we wanted to know how can people report different things. But he gave a wonderful presentation, and I'm hoping that we can have him for a general meeting to give his PowerPoint again so more people can hear it, because we didn't have that many people at the meeting last time. And we also had a presentation by Kurosh Langari, he's a civil engineer and he's just a part of the subcommittee. And he started mapping out the area or creating a design so that we could report where the illegal dumping is happening. And so we can address those problem areas in a better way. So the good thing is that he was able to connect with Jose and hopefully the task force that's happening at the county level to help them map out and generally see where these problem areas are, where people are dumping, so that we can hopefully get more resources or figure out ways of addressing those areas. So it was really wonderful. I'm hoping, I don't know, James, when we can have him back, but I'd like to invite him back for a future meeting. And as well, our next subcommittee meeting will be June 23rd, and you're all invited to that. We have 2 upcoming events. One is this Saturday, and I'd like Darcy, since you're still here, to talk a little bit about what's happening with the May Valley Association, how they're having their drop-off thing, and you could talk more after I'm done, I hope. And also on the 16th, Eric Gutierrez on Nextdoor is organizing a group cleanup meeting at the El Sobrante Library at noon to help some of the homeless people address, to collect some of their trash and bag it up and hopefully keep the streams cleaner as well. And let's see if I have anything else. I think that's it. I hope that the hops can take into consideration some of the things that I brought up earlier about the wrappers, the candy wrappers, the predominantly what we're finding in the cleanups, because I'm hoping people are doing this, but I'm also taking it upon myself. My husband often helps me, is to go and just clean up the areas right near you. And I encourage everybody to at least clean up the litter along the areas near their properties. That'll make a big difference, and continue reporting the dumps that they're finding. And we have a flyer with that phone number to Lynn Clark and her email as well, where you report the dumps that you see directly to them, and they'll add it to their list to pick it up. And the more we do it, the better it keeps things cleaner. And just take it upon yourself, if you can, to just keep the areas around your homes cleaner. That will make a big difference as well. And one other thing is that we did just recently, just today, updated our flyer that we have on the web page that we have with the El Sobrante MAC for our subcommittee. And we hope to start getting those out more and specifically deal with a lot of the problems that are happening in front of the apartment complexes. So I think we're going to get a little bit more proactive with that, and hopefully make an outreach to the apartment managers to see what we can do, see if the apartments themselves have enough bins to throw away their trash, or deal with their items on moving days. That this flyer that we have, we'd like to get them into the hands of more people. So we need to figure out a way of doing that, to let people know about the drop-off places where they can drop off mattresses. Everybody can do that 3 times a month for free. And also that people can have the county or the Republic Services can pick up but their personal big items every so often as well. So we have this resource available, and we just need to figure out a way of getting that distributed around more. And I started looking also into the possibility of getting a one of those billboards on San Pablo Dam Road to raise awareness about illegal dumping, how we don't really want this in our town, and we want everybody to take an active role in mitigating the litter problems and the dumping problems that we have. So those are some things down the road that we're looking at. But meanwhile, we're going to be handing out some of those flyers at the May Valley cleanup event this weekend. And I guess I'll turn that over to Darcy to talk a little bit more about what it is that who can participate in this and what they can drop off.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. The May Valley Neighborhood Council and there are other councils that are participating in this. We have this every 2 years. And even though the May Valley Council has not been that active, the officers are interim officers, and this is one thing that we're participating in. Everybody in the neighborhood got a flyer. They can bring, there's a vast amount of items that they can bring. But I think it would be a great thing to raise awareness of the flyers, give them flyers. And so there's a lot of people that just don't know that they can dispose of their mattresses legally for free. So I see that on Nextdoor a lot too. You know, there's a lot of dumping. There's dumping right next to my house. It's Richmond. But if you live in Richmond, anybody lives in Richmond, if they're a senior, they can have somebody pick up load on Friday and come to the cleanup on Saturday, 8 to 12 on De Anza.
Thank you. Thank you, Darcy.
So I think we can move to announcements. So Melinda just wants to use this opportunity under announcements to just report out a few things she heard at a Wildcat Canyon fire safety meeting. And then she can discuss a couple of items she wants to add to the agenda for the next meeting.
Thanks, Tom. And I know it's late, and so I'm going to be really brief, but this is incredibly important information. There is a large group of people who are dealing with fire prevention in Wildcat Canyon and the East Base Hills. And we had a meeting coordinated by Kate Rauch in Supervisor Joya's office, I think week before last, although I can't remember. You know, my brain is addled by the pandemic. I can't remember if it might have been yesterday, and I don't remember. But there were 3 things that I would like for all of you to be paying attention. Some of you may have heard about the massive tree die-off in the East Bay Hills. This is very concerning. We have huge amount of fuels that are on the ground, and if we had every goat and 10,000 people trying to clear it, we couldn't do it in time for this fire season. So if you are not prepared for fire season this year, get prepared now. The potential with this kind of fuel on the ground is really high, and I'm not trying to scare people. I am trying to scare you. It's really difficult. So you might want to read a little bit about that. And then in the category of good news, there are 2 things that I think are really worth knowing. One is there's going to be some coordination with some software folks who have been testing, and they tested during the L&M Lightning Complex fires last year, a new software called Zonehaven. And Zonehaven is this software that connects all the various agencies so that they have the same information in real time. As you might imagine, because some of us live in unincorporated and some of us live in Richmond and some of us live in San Pablo and blah, 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 sometimes information in the midst of an emergency could take you 2 or 3 phone calls. But this zone haven will mean that the public will be getting a unified message that goes out through all the channels very effectively. And the fire chiefs, the public safety people are really happy about this because it should make any need to evacuate go better. Because having consistent messaging coming out really makes a difference. The third thing that I want to mention, and this I think is just really, really cool. There are now more than 30 cameras in Wildcat Canyon. And most of you, if you've thought about the geography of where we live, the place that we all need to be the most worried about is Wildcat Canyon. If a fire starts in Wildcat Canyon and the wind is just right, we could be in real trouble. Now, we are probably not as big a risk as they are in Kensington and East Richmond Heights because the worst red flag usually is when the winds switch from onshore to offshore. And so we're, the humidity goes low when it goes that way. So they are probably at more risk than we are. But, life is strange and weird stuff happens these days. And so that is our biggest risk. There are more than 30 cameras now in the canyon, and there's a group of volunteers. There's more than 50 people who have been trained during a red flag warning. And I know they did it for the last 3 days. They go in shifts and they stay up all night long. Well, people take shifts, for an hour here and there and watch these cameras to protect us. And it's a tremendous effort. There is no successful software that can monitor these cameras. It takes human eyes on them. So I just want you to know that that's happening. It made me sleep a little better after I'd heard the whole thing about the trees to hear that there's all these cameras and there are people watching them when we're at the greatest risk. So I've asked Tom to see if we can get somebody to do a presentation at our next MAC meeting. It's worrisome. I know many of you have been involved in the 94803 Preparedness Alliance, and that's a really helpful thing. And there are things happening that don't always get communicated out through those channels. So we'll try to get that communication moving in all directions. Thanks, Tom, for giving me a moment to talk about this.
Sure. Melinda, would you please give to James the names of some people from that group who could be invited to give a presentation?
Yeah, I think James and his buddy Kate Rauch, Kate can hook you up with the right people. Part of what was so great about that meeting is every single one of the fire chiefs was there. Con Fire was there, Richmond Fire was there, East Bay Regional Parks Fire was there, everybody was there. And those fire chiefs have a lot to say. So Kate could probably tell you the best one person maybe to invite, but it was very helpful. And I especially was very moved by Zone Haven. And also the presentation about the cameras was really good, especially the East Bay Regional Parks fire people. There were a couple people out of their office. That was really helpful because that's where our biggest risk is really in that canyon. So yeah, James, we can work offline on that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any questions about Melinda's point? So if there were no further questions, I just want to thank everybody for participating in our meeting, to thank James for leading it. And yeah, so it's a great meeting. I learned a lot today. So thank you, everybody. And I move we adjourn.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate everyone's input. We'll be busy. I'll be busy the next month. Good to go.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.